I was 21, traveling by myself in a remote area of Turkey. A lot of hair, beard, backpack, camera. You can picture it. And I was awakened one morning by the sound of a crowd. So I got dressed and followed the noise a couple blocks into the very center of this little village. And what I came upon that morning changed my life. Because I saw a crowd of about 100 people standing in a circle around 3 steps that went down to the very center of this town. And as I came to the edge of the crowd and peered down, there was a young man about my age who was clearly mentally disabled. And this crowd was throwing rocks at him and stones at him and cans at him. And somebody came up from behind him and they put a paper bag over his head and they spun him around. And he fell to the ground and the crowd roared with laughter, undulated with delight at this young man's suffering. And I stood there, 21 years old, on the edge of the crowd, and every cell in my body said, "Go in there, help him, rescue him, protect him, defend him." But I knew that if I did, I probably wouldn't ever get out. I was the only Westerner within sight and probably within hundreds of miles. And if they, I thought, were willing to do that to one of their own, disabled as he was, what would they do to me? So I made a very painful decision. I turned around and walked away. And as I left the village, I said a prayer. I said, "Please, God, help me to never have to be a bystander again." And I came back to this country, and I truly believe that that event changed the course of my life, because I have been privileged to dedicate my life's work through many different iterations to trying to help those who need a hand up in this community and actually in communities throughout Colorado. I share this story with you this evening really for 3 reasons. One is to tell you just a little bit about myself and what motivates me to now do the work that I have the privilege of doing now. And 2 is I've come to learn that in this room and in any room, many people have very powerful stories that informed and sometimes changed their lives, particularly when they were young. Some of which far more dramatic than mine, some of which maybe less so, but most of us here have stories and events that change our perception of how we want to walk in this world. It took me 40 years to tell anybody that story about what happened to me that day. partly because I don't know if I did the right thing, partly because I wish I could have helped him, and partly because I didn't know how to share it. And what I've learned is that in safe environments, sharing those stories can build connection, can build trust, can build community. So I talked about the word bystander, and today as I was getting ready to drive up from Denver, I looked up, I said, what's the opposite of a bystander? The antonym of bystander is participant. And tonight, I have the privilege of speaking in front of 750 participants. Each of you who put the community into this great community foundation. There are over 750 community foundations in this country with more than $70 billion of combined assets, distributing more than $5 billion a year in grants, which is about 10% of all grants in this country. But even more important than those monetary figures is the leadership that community foundations show in helping to give opportunities to convene diverse interests to address community issues, not only in a nonpartisan way, but in a transpartisan way, transcending our differences to find common solutions to our problems. And I will tell you that in my work with donors across this country, I frequently shine the light on this community foundation as an outstanding example of the combination of money and leadership to make a difference at the community level, which in this time today may be the best place for all of us to do our work. And there's no better example of that, and I talk about it, is the role that the Community Foundation played right here in Loveland in helping to revitalize its downtown. So I want to just say my congratulations to Ray and his entire team for the vision, the risk-taking, the entrepreneurship, the stewardship, and the bold leadership he and his team have shown over these last 15 years. But by his team, I don't just mean his professional staff, outstanding as it is. I mean all of you, because you are what makes this community foundation extraordinary in this country. I also want to congratulate the Sutherland and the Schrader families for their outstanding work in this community and their well-deserved awards tonight. Really remarkable people, remarkable families. Okay, so Ray asked me to speak tonight about what are some of the lessons that I've learned about how to make philanthropy more strategic and more impactful. And he said I could only have 2.5 hours to do it. So he said, if you can get us out of here by 9:30, that would be great. Instead, I've really got just a few moments. And so we're going to have what I like to refer to as a speed date with philanthropy. We're going to fly through some of the key lessons that I believe help all of us think about philanthropy in ways where we can have more impact. So let's talk about 7 lessons in strategic philanthropy. Lesson number 1, look through 2 lenses. Most of us think about philanthropy with that external lens, helping us to answer the question, what difference do we want to make? How can we help others? How can we look externally to make a difference? What I've learned in my work is that an equally important question is what difference can we make for ourselves? What difference can we make for our families and our businesses by dedicating some of our financial resources to help answer that external question. By asking and understanding the internal motivations of what it is that we're trying to achieve, and then by tying that to the external goals of the difference we want to make in our community or our nation, we can really develop a plan that helps achieve both goals and make our philanthropy more meaningful for us and those that we want to help. Legacy has been talked about tonight, and legacy is one of the reasons why people choose to give philanthropically. And it's clear to me, and I think it's clear to all of you, that legacy is not only how we are going to be remembered after we're gone, but it's the difference that we make while we're living that ultimately informs our legacy. Number 2 has to do with family philanthropy. Family philanthropy is not just involving the kids in mom and dad's giving. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that doesn't last very long, and in many families, it doesn't work very well. Rather, I write and talk and work a lot to help families create what's called a safe zone for family philanthropy. Set a new table. Invite all of the adult members of that family or the young adult members of that family to sit at that table as equal participants, where the wealth-creating generation and the rising generations have equal voices and get to inform each other about the world that they see and the difference that they want to make. It really changes the paradigm to create a true opportunity for communication about what matters and what difference families can make in a multi-generational setting. 3, in a business setting, engage all of the business's stakeholders, whether it's the employees, the directors, the shareholders, the customers, the vendors, the lenders, and the community leaders who impact the business's success. We find that businesses who truly engage their stakeholders have much better success in achieving a double bottom line, helping to improve their profits, helping to improve their community impact. And the millennial generation, which will comprise 50% of our workforce within the next 5 years, has demonstrated a keen interest in working for companies that do more than just the first bottom line, make a profit, but that really demonstrate a commitment to that second bottom line, and that's to make a community impact. 4th, go deep, not wide. How many people here love peanut butter? Like, it's the best, right? I mean, it's just like unbelievable, right? How good peanut butter is. Well, so many donors engage in peanut butter philanthropy. They spread a little bit as far as they can, thinly, corner to corner on that piece of bread to try to cover as much of the things that they care about that they can. Peanut butter philanthropy is great, but it minimizes the impact that donors can have with their giving. So instead we say, go deep, not wide. It's not a football call, it's a philanthropy call, right? It's about focus, it's about intention, it's about engagement, and it's about narrowing so that philanthropy becomes not just transactional, but becomes transformational for not only the recipients, but also the donors. Number 5, give while you live. You know, there's very few guarantees in life. But in our work, we actually offer our clients a guarantee. We guarantee our clients, those who we help determine the strategy for their giving, we guarantee them that it is far more rewarding, far more satisfying, and far more impactful to give while you live than after you're dead. Guaranteed. And so far, in 8 years of this work in making that guarantee with dozens of families and businesses and foundations, not one has come back to tell us that we were wrong. Not one. Plus, not only when you give while you live do you have a chance to learn, to engage, to grow, and to thrive from your engagement in helping others, but with government budgets shrinking and our safety net not working as well as it may have once, the time, the need is now. So give while you live. 6, align your philanthropic investments with your mission. Think about it. There's $1 trillion in the United States today sitting in foundations and donor advised funds. $1 trillion. And somewhere between 5 and about 15, maybe 20% of that is actually donated every year. The other 80 to 95% of that $1 trillion, let's call it 950 million, is invested for a single bottom line. Invested to grow so that the donor can continue to give over time. But oftentimes, those investments are not only not supportive of the mission that the donors are hoping to achieve, they're contradictory. And I'll give you just a quick example. I have the privilege of working with a family foundation in New York City whose mission is to help prevent childhood asthma, which is the #1 reason why children miss school in New York City. One of the primary causes of childhood asthma is exposure to secondhand cigarette smoke. So this mission got all set up and everybody was starting to make grants to all these organizations to help children avoid getting asthma when the family discovered that they were invested heavily in tobacco stocks. Very profitable. Achieving that first bottom line of growth. But with the right hand, they were making the money, and with the left hand, they were trying to prevent the very harm that the right hand was creating. The point of that and all impact investing, especially with philanthropic capital, that $1 trillion that has already been given away, right, that isn't coming back, the donors already received the tax deduction. The power of impact investing is to achieve your mission from the engine of your philanthropic assets and not just from the fumes. 7th is, and finally, you'll be happy to know, is give boldly and take risks. How many people here know anybody who gave away so much money in their lifetimes that they didn't have enough to take care of themselves and their loved ones? Somebody surely knows somebody who gave away, who was so charitable they couldn't take care of themselves and their loved ones. Okay, let me ask another question. How many people know anybody who passed away with more money than they needed to take care of themselves and their loved ones? Anybody? Yeah. Right. Very few people give away too much money in their lives. A lot of people don't give away as much as they are able to after careful analysis, working with their advisors, and understanding their true capacity. So what we've learned is that if you give boldly, you're giving while you're living, you're having an impact, and remarkably, you're adding enormous value to your own life and even to your longevity. And also take risks. I think of philanthropy as the ultimate in risk capital. It's the place where we don't need a financial return on our investment, we need a social return on our investment. Think of the risk that the Community Foundation of Northern Colorado took by investing in downtown Loveland. That was a risky investment. And look how it's paid off. And in order to solve our society's most challenging problems, we have to take big risks. Think of the risk that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation took in devoting millions, if not billions of dollars to try to rid the world of polio. Huge problem, huge risk, huge reward. So give boldly and take risks. So I said when I started that there were 3 reasons why I told you that story about why I went to Turkey. And the third one is really my deepest held belief that at this time in our history, this time in our country and in our world, none of us can afford to be a bystander. And all of us have to do our part to try to repair the world and make it a better place. Money, I've learned, is like water. It flows through our lives. At the end of the day, we can't take it with us, but it flows. But if we capture it and we hoard it and we try to keep it to ourselves, sometimes it actually becomes toxic. It actually can become poisonous. But if we allow it to flow, whether it's a trickle or a torrent, if we allow it to flow, we not only nurture ourselves and our own lives, but we get to nurture the lives of those who get to drink from it downstream. These are challenging times. Partisanship and gridlock feel like they're at an all-time high. International challenges abound and have us all more frightened than we've been in many, many years. And life on our planet is facing new threats. Oprah Winfrey said, "I see that in moments of desperation and fear and helplessness, each of us can be a rainbow of hope, doing what we can to extend ourselves in kindness and grace to one another." And she went on to say, "And I know for sure that there is no them. There's only us." The word philanthropy is derived from the Greek words philos, anthropos, which means love of humanity. And like all of the forms of love, the more we make philanthropy a cornerstone of our lives, I'm convinced the more we will find the joy and the meaning and the very purpose of living. Thank you very much.